And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, episode number 93. As you can see, I'm wearing red today. Not last time, but there was a time when we did two back-to-back episodes, both red Aerostars, and I just ran them one back to the other. A very similar thing happening with episode 93 and episode 94, so I'm going to shoot these two back-to-back. And they happen not only both to be red, but both to be sports. So you're getting a little preview of both this episode and next episode. I love a sport Aerostar. Funny enough, this is episode 93, my 93 Aerostar Sport, which is right behind us. Also of that model year. One of my favorite years. The number 93 has a nice ring to it to me. And I think it was really sort of right in the middle of the Aerostar, the peak of the Aerostar. And so it's a good year. I like 93. But this is not a 93, and that'll lead us to the intro now. So here we have a 1997 Ford Aerostar XLT Sport. Listed for $6,900 a week ago in Pelham, Ontario, Canada. That's right, we are in Canada. So a quick check, real quick before we get any further. $6,900 in Canadian dollars equates, is that a word? Is equivalent to, equates, $5,147.53 in the United States. So always important to do that conversion. US dollar actually has been pretty strong against the Canadian dollar recently, as far as I know. Still, a bit of a hefty price for an Aerostar. I'm not sure what the Canadian market is like, but we're going to find out because we're going to do like a little mini Canadian residency. I saw the one we're going to do tomorrow, or whenever the next episode comes out. I don't know how. I think in the Ford Aerostar Facebook groups, and it had a really, really funny line in the ad, and then so I was like, well, why don't we go up to Ontario and check it out? And our neighbors to the north, despite the wildfires that have been smoking us out, are our good friends. And I mean, no disrespect, but I love Canada. And lo and behold, there's a nice Canadian Aerostar market. Now, I think Canada was the only other country where the Aerostar was sold natively. Perhaps it was sold natively in Mexico too, I'm not sure. But Canada is sort of an underrated place to find a car if you're in upstate New York where I am. You would think that the winters up there would, rust out cars, and I'm sure it does to an extent. However, I've seen lots of nice examples of cars from Canada. And the nice thing about Canadian cars, as we'll see just in a second, is when you see the mileage, you have to realize that it's not actually the mileage because it's in kilometers. So with that, this is driven 195,500 kilometers, which translates to about 121,000 miles. So, suddenly 195 becomes, 120, that's not bad. Automatic transmission, exterior color, of course, red. Interior color is gray. The fuel type is gasoline, and it's listed in good condition. Now, the description, wonderful description. There's a lot of caps going on, and it's almost laid out like a little bit of a poem here, with the way that the lines are delivered. So I'll do my best here. 1997 Aerostar Sport XLT, all caps, 195,000 kilometers, 120,000 miles. Kilometers is capitalized, miles isn't, which is funny. Kilometers is also abbreviated and miles isn't. I like that they give the conversion right there. So they know that they're maybe getting some American customers. Runs, all caps, and drives great. No caps. Little rust on two corners, the number 2. But good shape and suspense, new line, easy fix. Suspense obviously is my edit. Little rust on two corners, but good shape and easy fix. With running boards, just its own line unto itself. 3L, 3 liter, rear wheel drive, all caps. Also comes with bench seats in back. Fantastic. Great description. They're getting you jazzed up, very excited. I'm not sure if this is a dealership or not, but without giving away too many spoilers, the one we're going to do tomorrow is in the exact same location and has a very similar write-up style. So either this gentleman has two Aerostar Sports, both in red, and they're unloading both of them. Or it's some sort of like, small dealership or something like that. Either way, kind of a great story. So obviously we can see beautiful, beautiful picture here. I do really like the Aerostar Sports in red. Up there with the Cayman green, which I believe is my favorite color, and the Portofino blue, also a fantastic sport color. Now, all the sports had silver trim, so silver bumpers and sort of running boards and lower side painted. There is, and I've really only seen a picture of it out there, but they did make a Sport in silver. And I'm not the hugest silver car fan, although silvers and grays have kind of been growing on me lately, I gotta be honest. The silver Sport, we'll call it, the Sport model in silver looks pretty incredible because it's like a monochromatic Sport, and you're so used to seeing the Sport in two-tone, and it's the only one that looks like that. And just that, glistening silver with the running boards and the Sport package and all that. Pretty cool, I gotta say. However, this one is in red. And normally, I really like, I've always bemoaned the fact that the Aerostar never came in sort of like a fire engine red or like a barn red, a bright red. And it's always been sort of this more crimson. But it's funny what the Sport package will do. Even the Portofino blue, like if you see it on a normal Aerostar, it looks very nice. We just did one. But it also just like, okay, that's like a light blue. When you see it on the Sport against that silver, the word Portofino, the name really comes out and it takes on this extra elegance. I would say the same thing for the red. When you see it against that silver with the little Sport badging as we have here, it takes on, the color takes on like a new meaning. It has like a more of a boldness to it. And it's not, you see that it's not really quite a crimson. It is sort of just like this deep ruby red. Fantastic color. And obviously when the paintwork is nice and shiny, it just adds to that sort of robustness. I think these hubcaps, now you could get Aerostar Sports with alloy wheels, but I think there's something about these sort of salad shooter style hubcaps that just works really, really well with the Sport. Now I of course have put like OE, first gen Aerostar steel wheels that have the little dog dish hubcaps on them. I've painted them as close as I could to body color, and I think that looks fantastic. However, I will say there's nothing wrong with just the regular hubcaps on these Aerostars. The silver plastic works perfectly with the silver plastic bumpers and your running boards, and it really has quite an elegant look. I would say about as good as a car with hubcaps can look. And these big sort of, it gives the idea of motion even when you're standing still, which goes with the Sport theme, and you barely even really see the steel wheels under there, so you could almost mistake these for alloy wheels. I know that sounds silly to say with hubcaps, but I think it's true in this case. So just a fine looking vehicle. Let's move around, a little bit of shade in this picture. Now you'll see, it's funny, there was this Aerostar, the XL and the XLT trim packages. I recently just learned, or I relearned, I guess, that the Sport package was available in any non-Eddie Bauer trim. So you could not get, actually I've talked about this before, you could not get an Eddie Bauer Sport Edition, which if you think about it, really would have been like the creme de la creme, like the luxury of the Eddie Bauer with the sportiness of the Sport. That would have been cool, but I guess it was not to be. However, you see a lot of these Sports that do have the XL and the XLT packages. This one has the XLT. My green 93 is actually an XL. I've read somewhere what that actually got you, but it's not much. It didn't get you alloy wheels, and in my case, it still has crank windows, even when in my XL trim. But you get the little badge on the back there, and I guess it's a step up from your base model. So as they said, a little bit of rust in the corners. The bumpers look in great condition, which is a big thing. And these running boards are sort of peeling off the side. Now these running boards, despite their good looks, are kind of nothing but trouble. I think they encourage a lot of rust and corrosion, water getting trapped in there. I have to do quite a bit of body work on my 93. There's a giant hole in this area here. Here you can see like little scraping going on. Needs a little paint touch up, body work perhaps. But overall, pretty darn good. It's not like there's massive rust spots. You just need a little touch up here. Now here's something interesting. As you can see, and as this is listed as a 97, that checks out. We have our 97 taillights without these 2 bars of amber that would normally go just above your 3 bars of clear. And that's very interesting because I didn't think they made the Sport in 97, and Wikipedia would even back that up, as we see here. Sport, Aerostar Sport, 92 to 96. 92, the Aerostar Sport was introduced as an option package available for any non-Eddie Bauer edition Aerostar, similar to its Chevy Astro, RS, GMC, Safari, CS. Now, I didn't know this either. I didn't know that the Astro and Safari made sort of like a sporty version. I got to track one of those down and see what it looks like. And Dodge Caravan ES. I would also like to see an ES. I would say the Aerostar Sport, and the name kind of implies it, is sort of the sportiest of them. Again, my favorite line was largely a cosmetic upgrade. It was entirely a cosmetic upgrade. Distinguished by their silver accented paint and sport quote-unquote pinstriping, the Sport featured integrated running boards with a color-matched front air dam and color-matched rear mud flaps. Now, I didn't know that either. On darker colors, the front grille and chrome was painted body color, which is also funny how it was only on darker colors. The trim version of an Aerostar Sport is most easily identified by its wheels. XL Sport wagons with full wheel covers, XLT Sport wagons less common with aluminum wheels. That's the other funny thing. So a couple of things don't match up. If this is an XLT, you would think it would have the alloys, which it does not. It has the, and this is the other thing I'm wondering, if these hubcaps were actually only on the Sport. I never put two and two together. I thought they were on some other Aerostars. Maybe these hubcaps were exclusive to the Sport. Also, I wouldn't say it's most easily identifiable by the hubcaps. I would say it's most easily identifiable by the air dams they're calling it. I call it the front grille, and the Sport, graphics package here. I think that, and the running boards. Quite honestly, the running boards is usually the first thing that gives them away. However, maybe we need to go update the Wikipedia, because this, unless someone put on 97 taillights, we'd have to see the VIN and everything. Or they're just an Aerostar aficionado. They got it. It had the taillights from a 97 on it, so they said, oh, it must be a 97. But I never knew that. So you learn something every day. Apparently the Sport was made all the way to the Aerostar's conclusion in 1997, which is interesting. Usually, 96 and 97, when the Aerostar was, slated for cancellation, I think they kind of simplified and, consolidated things. They weren't offered in as many guises. I believe the manual transmission went away. However, maybe the Sport package carried on right till the end. Another very interesting thing, we notice here that, now, it's one thing that the grille or air dam is not body color matched. And as we know, on darker colors especially, this should be like the same dark red. But what's also interesting is that the headlight bezels and chrome are not. So either this was involved in like a serious front end collision and they couldn't find, but it's funny because it's like all three, like both headlight bezels and your grille are all appear to be off of just like, a non-Sport Aerostar, which is very, very funny. So either all of them replaced, but it still looks like the bumper has this little air dam splitter, which I don't think all of the Aerostars had. I think this was also unique to the Sport, the little extra plastic on the bottom there. Now I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure there's some front bumpers that don't have that on the bottom. And you would think if it was involved in a front-end collision that this bumper, of all things, would have gotten cracked to pieces. So if this bumper is original, but the headlight bezels, the chrome, and the grille are not, a lot of sleuthing needs to go on here. I mean, the other conceivable option, and it's funny because on Canadian Marketplace right now, there is you can buy just the Sport tape to make your Aerostar Sport. You wonder if this wasn't a Sport originally and it got someone put on the running boards, the graphics, and the bumpers, or the front bumper anyways, from a Sport and sort of made it like a Sport tribute. That would explain the lack of air dam and headlight bezels being painted. It would also explain how it's a 97 if Wikipedia is to be believed and there was no Sport in 97. So either way, we got a mystery on our hands. Very interesting. This is the stuff that's fun to nerd out on. You hear a lot of guys and gals talk about, with classic cars, with muscle cars, in the earlier days, there was a lot of variation from year to year. You know, like the Chevy had, you know, like Corvette, for example, you know, they went single taillights, then dual taillights. A lot of times the Cadillacs, every year there would be some sort of modification to the body. So every year was kind of different, especially when a car was, you know, it's in its early days, they would make little modifications to the car to make it better year after year, and styling cues just to kind of like bump sales and stuff like that. The Aerostar is cool because you can kind of do that with the Aerostar. There were a lot of changes along the way. You know, the grille style changed. There were different packages. There was manual transmissions, different body lengths. Even within the interiors, they went through a major change in '91. But even those early interiors, some of them had, you know, the digital dash cluster. Some of them had the analog. So there's a lot of cool things. Like every year of the Aerostar, you almost can. The engine changes at the very beginning. You almost can, like, there's something different almost for every single year. So it's kind of fun to nerd out on that stuff. Here we have the interior. Again, crank windows, even on the XLT, I guess. Looks very, very similar. I think all these sports got the gray interior. That's what I'm thinking. And it's, you know, there were as close as you get to, you know, not, actually these kind of aren't two-tone seats. They are kind of all the similar fabric. And as much as I love the two-tone seats, I think they look fantastic just in plain gray cloth. I think they look really, really cool. Now, one of the things you probably get with the XLT package is a center console, which mine does not have, and I badly want. One, just from a style standpoint, to have a cool thing. But two, it's extremely functional because these cup holders, as I've talked about, very, very shallow, sort of indentation here for your cups, and not very functional. So that center console is very, very cool. I love a gray interior. I've talked about it many times. Everything in the interior looks very, very nice. Now, you know, you got some wear and tear by your driver's side footwell. Some of that could be cleaned up, but no rips on your seats, especially right here. This bolster is often ripped. It is on my 93, and that's just from, you know, ingress and egress of people getting out and catching themselves on the seat. It happens over time. Yeah, nothing looks ripped on your door cards. And a lot of these Aerostars had a cool sort of carpeting here to like match one of the fabrics on the seats. But I really like the sports because having something just more bare bones and Spartan is sporty if you think about it. As we see another little mirror add-on there, a little auxiliary mirror placed on your rearview mirror. Looks like this might be, I'm not sure if the plastic might be a little wavy there, but there's something about just everything in gray, aside from, you know, your dash cluster and those little plastic trim pieces, that I think is really, really appealing and you know, boils everything down into its essence, and you can really see the interior of the Aerostar for what it is. I've talked a lot about the steering wheel. I love the steering wheel on these Aerostars. Looks fantastic in gray. So there we have it. Not a ton of pictures, but good ones for sure. Up in Ontario. So boy, if you're looking for an Aerostar Sport in particular, you could do a lot worse than this one. Again, it is a mystery to me about the front situation here, but you know, you could get the paint, whatever paint code this is, and it'd be pretty easy to take apart these little headlight clusters, take apart this grille. You could probably find a Sport grille. I would say the bezels would be a little harder to find, or just take them all off in a day, 2 days work. You could have them all painted up, slap them back on, and then you'll have like a real deal Aerostar Sport, which I gotta believe this is. I mean, with the interior, everything checks out. I'm just wondering why. You know, maybe in '97 it's possible they kind of said, you know, F it, and they stopped painting the grills. They just, like, you know, didn't bother. they had some running boards lying around. They had some gray interiors lying around. They had this Sport badging lying around. Maybe it was a little bit of an upsell for the Sport package. So like, oh, we'll make these Sports, but we're not going to bother doing the front of them, and nobody will notice. So that honestly might be the most likely possibilities, that they soldiered on with the Sport in their last year of production. They knew the car was coming to an end of its run, and they didn't bother to paint the front. So very, very interesting, very, very curious. So, but you know, if it is truly a 97 Sport, probably got to be pretty rare, I would imagine. You're only sitting at 121,000 miles, so pretty low. It's a fairly, you know, decent asking price, but maybe you could dicker with them a little bit. and get yourself a really fine Aerostar. It does have the bench seats, as they say, even though we don't see it. So, you know, carry people around with you, go to events. And again, I think the red, underrated sport color, this deep red. What I would love to see, and we just did a black Aerostar, is a black Aerostar Sport with the black grille and headlight bezels. Now that would look absolutely fantastic, especially against the silver two-tone. The question there would be, what color would the little sport thing be? Because usually on the reds it was red. I think on the Portofino blue it might have been red. I think on my Cayman green it's more of like a bluish green. They only made them, I think, in 2 colors, these little sport script logos. But, you know, maybe you could do it gold or something like that. That would be cool. You know, anything's possible nowadays. You can sort of recreate these decals and do anything you want. So that's you know, food for thought right there. There you have it. We got some great Canadian Aerostars coming up on this mini little residency of Canada, and then we'll bring it home for the 100th episode. I wasn't going to do anything special, but then I just got a fantastic email yesterday. And thank you to who sent that. I'll shout you out when I do the episode. I might save that for episode number 100, which we're closing in on because it's a really, really special Aerostar. And there you have it. Okay, so thank you very much, Janky do Thanky. We got a great week of Aerostars coming up. Really excited to dig into this little Canada chapter. And we'll have another one for you very soon. And until then, here on Janky AF, we say, Janky do Thanky.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.